Okay, let's go.
Hello there, Chick Chat. We're back with Teen Mom in the most interesting episode of the season. And we're going to start off with Jade. Her mom's just going to jail.
Yeah, I mean, that pretty much is it. She lost her dog for a minute there, but really just a minute. So I wonder if her daughter let the dogs out again, because that seems to be a recurring theme. Her mom gets a violation of probation from, I think it was like a weed charge. She ends up having to serve some time on that. FaceTimes her mom for a while, and Jade asks her if she's done with her crying spells. So it seems like she didn't take to jail very well initially. I mean, who can blame her? Jail sucks.
It's just weird that weed is still illegal in Indiana, but, teach their own.
It's weird that people are still going to jail over that. So she's sitting in jail. She says something about, you'd think if I had extra cushion that I'd be more comfortable laying on these beds, but in fact she's not, because she's heavier and she's sitting on metal. So she's not feeling very good. They tell Chloe that she's at the doctor place for work. Like, I don't even know what the doctor place for work is. I know this is an untruth, but
They just telling Chloe whatever. I think they're trying to pass that off as some kind of doctor's office because it does look a little strange in there. Like, I'd be like, where is she?
yeah, that's kind of Jade's story. That's her check-in. You know what? Good for Jade for getting a bag on this story, because she deserves it. Jade can get all the money she needs, but this is something that could have gotten skipped. So
And free my girl Christy, or somebody get that big gulp, because she's
big
struggling.
gulp and a big cushion.
Big gulp and a big cushion for Christy. Free my
If you see me blinking a lot or touching my eye a lot, I think I dropped an eyelash inside my eyelid while I was doing my makeup, and it's been hours and it won't come out. So who knows? It's living there, paying rent at some point. So sorry.
From jail time to kindergarten, basically. We got all the kids in Cheyenne in this episode.
Yeah.
So Cory went off to the challenge, and now it's time that Cheyenne and Taylor meet up with each other. Taylor's in Seattle with her parents and her family, and so she's got the two little girls up there. And Cheyenne obviously has her two kids, and her and Zach decide to go up and visit with her because Ryder started to miss Mila a lot. I think Mila is starting to get to the age where when Cory leaves, she's feeling that. So it's probably a good thing for all the kids to get together. They go up to Seattle and they live in Airbnb. They first called Taylor because that's how close they are. It just blows my mind that these people are so close. I know they are family members, but it's like they're cousins or something. Like, it seems like they've known each other for a lot longer.
It did seem, though, like Cheyenne was dreading it a little bit. Not in a bad way, not anything against Taylor, but I think she just was like, man, it does kind of really suck that we have to bring our whole family over here just to see this lady and her kids because of our kids. But they're totally willing to do it. There was no outward expression, but yeah, it just seemed when she was like, I don't know, so Ryder's been doing okay. It just kind of seemed like she was wanting to get an out, but they did end up meeting up, and I do think that it's really, like you said, it's just really interesting, but it's also great. There's nothing wrong with it. I just wish it was more normal for us to see. So I'm glad that they do all this on TV.
Well, they got the extra money. Zach can get off of work pretty easily, so they were able to go up there as a whole family. When they were on the phone and they were talking about the plane ride, and Ace was like, it was scary.
I loved that, actually. That was so cute. I mean, he was on the phone just telling his own whole story. Like, we went far and it was scary. He's so cute. He had a whole story to tell.
I just love how verbal Cheyenne's kids all are. They're just hilarious. So they meet up at some point to do some kind of coloring station. Cheyenne asked Mila what she's coloring. Mila's like, I'm a color daddy. And then she starts coloring her dad, which it was a bunch of scribbles. Everyone else thought it was great. Cheyenne's like, do you think my drawing of your dad looks good? This girl's face was like...
She was horrified.
Who is that man? Who are you? Who do you think my dad looks like?
She told Zach, she's like, look at me. She's just like scared and sad and confused. Then, almost within the same breath, Cory appears.
Yeah, he just shows up. It's like they manifested this man.
They all drew a picture of him, and then he came.
He just appeared. Cheyenne reposted that clip on her Instagram, and Cory commented on it and said she was just trying to be nice. He wasn't trying to hurt your feelings on that.
So tell me why do all Cory's kids hate Cheyenne? If Mila just has to try to be nice, and then you got Maya's like won't even put her arms talking about how close this family is and how much time they spend together. And I don't know, it's just funny to me that they're like, yeah, we don't fuck with Cheyenne.
I thought it was a cute trip overall. I think it's really nice to see like Taylor and Cheyenne hanging out because, mind you, when Taylor first came back into the picture, I never would have foreseen that. It's quite amazing how mature these people can be. And Cheyenne even said co-parenting wouldn't be this easy if it wasn't for Zach and Taylor being so accommodating and so okay with like their situation. Cheyenne's also, I think she's really befriended Taylor in a way because she's trying to talk to her about Cory not wanting to settle down. They keep trying to pressure this man and pressure this man. I understand where Taylor's coming from. You're doing all these things for this person. But at the same time, maybe you shouldn't have been doing all these things for this person until you got a ring first.
True. I also get like, what do you just stop your life and put it on hold? They seem to have a good relationship other than the fact that Cory is only 65% committed or whatever she said. So it's got to be hard to think about leaving that for a 0% commitment with nobody. I feel bad that she's in this position. She's made it very clear what she wants. And I don't know what the heck keeps going on with Cory, but they do try to play out this whole marriage storyline again. We already talked about all of that in the last season and nothing has changed. So I would be angry too.
Cory's reason for not being married is because he's not seen an example. And Taylor calls him out. She's like, his mom's married and his dad's been married for a while now. So now he has to.
And even if that doesn't show an example of a healthy marriage because you didn't grow up with it, it shows a model of somebody taking a chance to be in a marriage even though one failed before. So you can't use that excuse anymore because your own parents who were in these failed marriages that terrify you so much are in new marriages that seem to be happy and healthy. It's not like one can't exist. You just have to
try,
commit and try it. If it doesn't work out, then that doesn't mean your life is over. You can go still find the love of your life and get married again. Louise.
Divorce is an option nowadays more than ever.
It's not like you want to go into a marriage thinking divorce, but I don't think Cory and Taylor are. I think their biggest problem is that they're not married. I don't think they're incompatible.
And there's many people who do this and don't get married, and that's fine. If both partners are fine with that, each their own. But I think the more that she's pushing that on him, the more he's gonna not want to do it. So it's kind of having a side effect as well. But it's like, what do you do?
He's coming up with the strangest reasons. Like, when I'm at the grocery store and people ask, where's my husband?
That.
This isn't the 1920s. They're not like, where is the man that you belong to?
Where's your keeper?
Yeah, like nobody's doing that.
And then Cory's like, I call you my wife. She's like, yeah, but it's not true. And that would kind of annoy me too. If we're not really married and that's what I want, don't call me your wife. You can't just do that and not earn it, right? Yeah. I'm called a wife because I spent $20,000.
Exactly.
Did you, Cory?
At the end of the day, Cory could still pack up all of his stuff and walk out the door. That's just not the way it works when you're married. I understand that he's trying to show he's as committed as he would be if he was married, but it's not just that.
Especially if it means a lot to Taylor.
I think it means a lot to Cory too. I think the problem is not like, I don't think I need to be married. I think he's just terrified. He needs to go to a couple more therapy sessions. That one had him so motivated he was standing up, walking around in circles, couldn't wait to see Taylor. So, like, just go to a couple more sessions, get it figured out.
Maybe there's a part of him that doesn't want to get married at all or ever or whatever. I mean, we've seen Cory had commitment issues even when he was trying to figure out if he wanted to be with Cheyenne or not. He was being weird about that. Cory likes to beat around the bush for as long as he can. But I will say, I get the first kid happened, whatever. But you don't have to keep having kids with somebody if they're not giving you what you want.
Buy a house and
if you really want this to happen, be like, I can't really buy a house with you until we get some of my goals taken care of. I have goals here in this relationship as well. And I need to know if this is actually going anywhere because I'm only getting older. There's no real security there when it comes to their relationship. I see where she's coming from. I laughed though when she was like, he's 65% and I just want to get it to 99%. And Cheyenne's like, what about 100%?
She's a realistic gal. She knows the man she wants to marry ain't never gonna be at 100. And that's why she should be married to him. I mean, shit, she's willing to accept that 99%. That's what I mean. Like, nobody else is gonna be like, I'll be happy with a 99 today in marriage.
It's an A. Screw it. Not many people would even deal with the 65%, for
Not
as
for
long as
this
she
long,
has.
yeah.
So I feel for Taylor, but also sometimes we gotta think before we do some of these extra things because you're just giving Cory everything he wants. Why does he have to put a ring on it if you're willing to sign on a house, have all these bebes, live 5 minutes from Cheyenne? Cheyenne saying now Taylor's finding her voice, but I feel like she could find her voice on a few other things too. Let's put out some ground rules before we keep progressing. Moving on.
So we have Bree coming up next, and big thing going on with Bree this episode is that her mom is coming home finally from detox mental health kind of treatment center. And she's been there for 6 weeks, and she supposedly has completed the program, even though it seemed like she was having a little rough go about it for a little while.
And this was exhausted. She looks sickly.
She did. She looked skinny and pale and kind of looked lifeless. Like she definitely had life about her, but for Roxanne, she was lethargic, even talking,
I was like, this is what the box of pills was doing for her?
I know. We kind of see like through the progression of the episode too that it's kind of persistent, at least throughout the episode. She can't really seem to like shake this insomnia, sleepiness, disconnectedness, and she tells them eventually that she doesn't really need to be like that. But it's kind of sad because I don't think any of them really realized that maybe the methadone was actually helping her. It was prescribed. They wanted her off of it because it's a bad, people have opinions about being on it, and I feel the same way. Like, what kind of treatment is it if you're on it for your whole life? But I don't think that's a treatment. That's just like a different drug you're
Addiction.
addicted to. But then you see her, and I hope that she just has to 3, 6, 8 months or however long, and she'll feel back to herself. But I don't know. It makes you wonder if that stuff helps maybe more than we realize. I wouldn't recommend getting back on it now that she's off.
I think part of it is now she's having to work through a lot of this trauma she keeps alluding to, all this trauma that she's had. The methadone might have kept her preoccupied. It's kind of like when you smoke weed and you don't care about nothing anymore, So now she's actually having to deal with stuff that she didn't deal with before. When I was looking up photos for one of the last edits that I did, I came across that Roxanne was in some documentary in the 80s. I wonder if this is going to explain any of her trauma. I want to maybe watch this documentary she was in.
That documentary has not left my brain since you sent it to me because I watched a trailer somewhere online, and Roxanne is exactly her little face, but like as a child. It's so weird. And now that we're learning so much about what has happened during her childhood and the fact that her mom is quoted in the movie saying, this one's dad, pointing to Roxanne, this one's dad is not in the picture anymore because of drug issues. When Roxanne has confirmed that she used to assist her dad. I don't know, it has not left my mind since I've learned about it, and I really, really do want to watch this documentary. And apparently there's a sequel to documentary features the neighborhood in Brooklyn, I think, that Roxanne grew up in, and it follows, I think, a couple different families and stories, but there's a sequel to it called like 89 Steps or something, where her mom is moving out of this apartment in this like culturally historic neighborhood that's also very impoverished. So there's a movie about her moving out of that as well. So
I think we should watch it and cover it.
maybe we should. I think that would be a good idea. That'd definitely be well worth the $3.99 Amazon rental.
We might as well. It's from 1984, so Roxanne's pretty young. But I just find it interesting that basically, 25 years later, she put her own kid on TV. So it's full circle to see that Roxanne was actually on TV as a kid.
I know, I know. It is. And it seems like the family dynamics have improved because I think in the next episode they talk a little bit too about dynamics more once they get into Roxanne's trauma and stuff. But it seems like they are breaking the cycle, but I think Roxanne is putting a lot of guilt on herself for what she's done to her kids. But I feel like once I watch this documentary, I'm going to have a lot more respect for Roxanne in some way. But I don't know. I guess I'll have to wait and see.
So let's keep our eye out for that chick chat maybe in the next couple months.
Maybe when the season's over, we are going to jump into Sister Wives, so we'll see how busy that keeps us. But
we got lots of ideas over here.
We do end up seeing Roxanne. Brittany has not seen Roxanne. She's still refusing to. I almost thought that Brittany was about to tell Bree if the girls don't seem harmed when they see mom, then maybe I'll see mom. And she didn't end up saying that. She said something else.
So that they could have a relationship with her. Why
Right,
not?
right. Yeah, if they seem like they're okay, then why keep them away? But yeah, I thought she was trying to relate back to herself because she wasn't wanting to see her. And at first I was gonna be like, what is wrong with you? You should be seeing her before you put these kids in front of her. But anyways. It does
Well,
seem like Roxanne is on quite a bit of medication still. Brie looked horrified looking at this medication list. I know she does have lupus though, so that is probably something where she does need some kind of medication management with that, although I have
yeah.
no idea
I think
what
that's
that's
in
like.
part why she was still on the methadone for so long because I mean, look at like Selena Gomez in a way, but I know that there was a while where it was reported that she was using boxes of nuts. I don't know if it was the same kind of nuts, but some kind of nuts.
Right.
I think that maybe that kind of stuff can help alleviate lupus because I mean, it helps alleviate everything else. So I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised if that was in part why she was, because she said they had to put me back on the lupus medication or they couldn't get me off the lupus stuff. And it's like, well,
Mhm.
why would you want to get off the lupus stuff? You have lupus.
Yeah, no, I think she went in there maybe with some unreasonable goals, like she just needs to get off of all her meds and then back on things as needed. I'm not a doctor, but I wouldn't recommend getting off of a medication for like a heart problem or a lupus problem just because you're detoxing. You're probably gonna need those things even more. I'm not a doctor, but I'm just thinking.
Allegedly. Any-
Allegedly.
Anyway, so moving on to Leah, the girls' mom. Allie doesn't want to use her wheelchair. And since when has this girl wanted to use her wheelchair? I don't think I've ever seen this girl like was using her
There
wheelchair.
was one little tiny phase of her life when she first started with the electric wheelchairs.
Hmm.
And she got a brand new one at first, and it went like 22 miles an hour or something scary. She was, like, driving down the parking lot with that thing, screaming. She was so excited for that, but, yeah, I mean, I'm sure 1 or 2 kids are mean about it, and all of a sudden, it's like, "I'm not using this thing, I don't need it."
I think it's even harder for her just because she's got a twin, and it's hard to see your twin be able to do things that you cannot do. I think it'd be different if it was just her and Addie and they're in different grades and all that. So she doesn't have that kind of competition because there's always some kind of sibling competition, rivalry, like kind of thing
Right,
going. Even when there's not, you're still comparing yourself to your sibling.
right.
I found it interesting to learn that Allie just kind of like hangs on to everybody and walks with them. It's like, wow, I just can't help but think about the time when she asked Leah if she was just too big in the womb and she's the reason why Allie has muscular dystrophy. So I feel like she has that kind of guilt. And I get that kind of guilt because I think sibling guilt is an easy thing to have. Like I have sibling guilt over my brother's autism, and there's no reason for me to, but it's just a natural thing when you want somebody to be able to live a full life and you see them
Yeah,
being held back by things you can't control. So with Aaliyah, I feel like it's even stronger just because she might put a lot of that guilt on herself, even though you
yeah.
can't control that kind of thing.
It must be hard too with that guilt also to abide by what Leah is asking her to do, which is to try to encourage her to be a little bit more independent because I think you're right. You kind of tend to want to overfunction for people when you can't help what they're going through. And I do think Leah is parenting this situation really well because Allie is going to have to be independent and she is going to have to learn how to deal with her own body when somebody else isn't around. And I can
Mhm.
appreciate that she knows the distances that she can walk and not, but what happens when you have to go a distance that you can't walk? Are you going to go or are you going to avoid it because you have to use your wheelchair?
If you don't got your wheelchair on you, just gonna stand there? Where are you gonna go? What are you gonna do? Especially when you if they go both go to college and they go away to college,
Hmm.
how's she gonna get around without her wheelchair?
She's not.
And
She
I
can't
don't
can't
yeah.
drive around campus.
And the nice thing is that she can at some point stand up and walk. There are some people who are literally wheelchair bound and they can't really
Mhm.
get up at all. So even though she needs a wheelchair and it might make her look a little different, like, walking all crazy, holding on to your sister makes you look different too.
It does, and I wonder if that maybe contributes to the lack of acceptance for her, though, because there are places that she can walk, and there is things that she can do without her wheelchair. It probably really feeds a sense of denial, I would imagine. "What do you mean I need a wheelchair? I'm walking around school just fine."
Yeah.
That's kind of the conversation that she is having with her mom, and She got a little bit of a toot about it, but nothing disrespectful.
She always has a dude when she talks to Leah. Allie, of all of them, just seems so fed up whenever Leah talks to her. She
I know.
walkie-talkies this girl to get her water, and then once she walks in the room, she's like, "Ugh, now she's gonna talk to me. She was just supposed to drop off the damn water." And obviously, that whole scene was a little bit staged or whatever. For one, why does
Everything is.
Leah have walkie-talkie so her girls can command her around? I'm like, Leah, you're not the maid. If this girl
I
can
think
walk for herself and you're trying to teach her a lesson, make her go get her own damn water.
I know. It's like I thought she did so well in trying to encourage all this independence, and then the very next scene, she's like, "So I got her a walkie-talkie so I can wait on her hand and foot." It's like, no, and here she is using it. It seems like immediately she realized how stupid of an idea that was, but
Yeah, she needs to get rid of those. Because here's the thing, too. I know this is gonna sound bad, but I honestly think Allie might need to have a fall or something happen
yes,
so where
the
she can
adversity, yeah.
come to terms. And why not do that in your own home? Get rid of these walkie-talkies. At least if she falls in her house, you're right there,
Right.
whatever. I wouldn't be getting nothing for her. I'd be like, listen, you gonna get your wheelchair. You're gonna use the little stair thing that we got. They must have some kind of stair thing installed in their
Yeah.
house. You're gonna use that. I mean, even Addie's walking this girl around like she's her grandma. You either got to come to terms or you got to do and fail or do or whatever. But Leah's
Yeah.
right. If she keeps working out these muscles, eventually she'll get to a point in life where she won't even be able to walk probably at all, and she'll definitely be wheelchair bound.
Yeah.
So that's why they got her the wheelchair so young to begin with, so she could try to conserve that energy. But I think maybe she
Mhm.
might need a fall or something to happen. Not anything obviously detrimental. I don't wish anything detrimental on this child. I think that sometimes you learn by failures as well as successes.
No, I think you're right. And Leah's kind of hinting at that as well when she talks about how she needs to stop shielding her from
Mhm.
adversity and from the reality of what's going on with her body. So I think we're going to see a little bit more of that happening. But yeah, it's going to be delicate.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks, but it could definitely be a lot worse for Allie. She seems to have a good support system. She
Hmm.
seems to have friends. It's not like it's truly hindering her. I just think she's embarrassed of it,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
being in high school, which I understand that because I'm sure it's not the easiest thing to go through high school in a wheelchair. I mean, the desks aren't even set up for that. I can see where that's going to have its issues, but at the end of the day, there are kids that are completely not mentally there, completely
Right.
can't walk or whatever, and those kids still go through life as well. You got to be able to accept who you are, where you're at. And I think it's hard because I'm sure she compares herself to Aaliyah a lot, who does cheer and all these things that she just can't do. But you get your own hobbies, just like Allie has the horseback riding and all that. Like, I think Leah and Cory are probably in a really tough spot. Do we let her fall? Like, do we let her possibly get hurt? Or do we just kind of let her do her own thing? This girl is what, 13, 14 years old. She's gonna have to come to terms with that on her own before anything
Yep.
happens.
She is spunky. She does have a big personality. She's not going to take anyone else's word for it when they're saying you can't do this. She's going
Mhm.
to try to do it, and maybe she can and maybe she can't, but she needs to figure that stuff out on her own. And
Yeah.
that might mean potentially embarrassing herself, potentially falling, hopefully not too bad. Again, we're not hoping for any of this, but I think she just needs to go through trials and tribulations and be supported by her family emotionally, but not physically to walk her places.
I will say I was confused for a while because I'm really hinting that Allie don't even accept she has muscular dystrophy at all. And I'm like, this girl really don't realize she got muscular dystrophy. Like, goes to see that specialist. Why do you think we go to the specialist once every 4 months?
I do
Bless
think
her
she
heart.
has a little bit of denial going on, but I don't think it's deep denial. I'm exactly like my twin sister.
Mhm.
That would be difficult.
Why didn't she get on the phone with Cory about this one? I would like to hear what he had to say instead of the stuff about birth control.
I love that scene.
So, yeah, that's it for this episode. It was a pretty big snooze fest. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I'm glad that we could run through it with you all, but this was not their best work. So hopefully we made it a little bit more exciting talking about it. Next time is a little more exciting. We're going to see Amber finally back, which I never in a million years thought that I'm still not excited, but I want to see the rest of this storyline play out. So I'm satisfied. I guess she has returned. I'm not going to say happy. She's going to be engaged and she's also going to hang out with Kate and Macy. So I'm curious to see how that goes. And it looks like Brie and her mom and all the kiddos are going to do a photo shoot and Brittany's doing some weird meh face in the thing. So I don't know. Probably not going to go well.
Well, at least we're out of tampon school. I'm just happy to be done with it.
Thank gosh to be out of tampon school.
No more tampon school. All right, Chick Chat. Well, we'll catch you on the next one. And also, if you guys like my jewelry, shop us in the link. And pray for Brookside.
Help me.
Help us. Help us all.